want from me? Huh? What do you want from me?
Is there a creepy room where no one survives for more than an hour? I don't believe in such superstition. I walked into the hotel lobby and specifically asked to stay in the infamous room 1408. Before I could even finish my request, the front desk immediately rejected me. This room was cursed. Since the hotel opened 95 years ago, 56 people had died there. For safety reasons, the hotel had sealed off the room long ago. My name is Mike, and I'm a horror novel writer. Even though I write ghost stories all the time, I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah, I'd like to stay in room 1408, please.
That room is unavailable, sir.
The front desk refused to book the room for me, so I grabbed my bag and went straight to the hotel. The moment I walked in, I insisted on booking room 1408. The front desk clerk didn't dare make the decision, so he immediately called for the manager. The manager greeted me with a smile and offered me a free upgrade to the presidential suite. I didn't pay any attention to him and insisted on room 1408. The manager had no choice but to let me into his office. The smile on his face instantly vanished, replaced by an extremely serious expression. It wasn't about the hotel's reputation or my personal safety. He simply didn't want to collect another corpse. I coldly laughed it off, thinking he was just trying to scare me. The manager pulled out a thick dossier, and the first page was the record of the first victim. He had committed suicide in the bathroom during the hotel's opening week, slashing his wrists. I continued flipping through the pages. Each page contained a nightmarish death. The manager thought this would be enough to scare me away, but the more I read, the more intrigued I became. I enthusiastically declared, "I must stay in room 1408. If you don't let me, I'll sue the hotel." The manager had no choice but to retrieve the long unused key. The elevator arrived at the 14th floor. The manager gave me one last warning, telling me not to go in. I smirked. I didn't believe in any of it. While still reading the dossier, I looked for room 1408. As I walked, I ended up back at the elevator, as though some invisible force was preventing me from moving forward. I shook off the thought, put away the dossier, and made my way down the hall, finally standing in front of room 1408. I knocked on the door, no response. I inserted the key, turned the handle, pushed the door open, and turned on the light. The room seemed normal, nothing but an ordinary hotel room, as plain as could be. I scoffed, "Is this it?" Then I closed the door and began inspecting the room. The desk lamp was on, the bedroom was neat, the bathroom was clean, the TV worked, the sound system was normal, and there was enough toilet paper. The only issues were the dirty carpet and the ugly painting on the wall. I opened the window, and the street scene outside was just as normal. At that moment, the radio suddenly blared to life, startling me. I spun around and nearly screamed. Someone had made the bed, everything perfectly arranged. I rushed to the bathroom and found that even the toilet paper had been replaced with a new roll. I was certain that someone else was hiding in the room. I searched the wardrobe. Empty. I opened every door and rushed back to the living room, scanning the space carefully. The only place someone could hide was the cupboard, but of course the cupboard was empty. The room was completely empty except for me. I began to panic. After turning off the lights, I pulled out a UV flashlight. The whole room was covered in bloodstains and dust. Needing a drink to calm my nerves, the radio suddenly started playing again. The numbers on the screen quickly shifted, finally stopping at 60 minutes. Then I remembered the manager's words. No one could survive an hour. The countdown had begun. The silence around me was deafening. I could hear nothing, not even when I stuck my head out of the window. It was all dead silence. Just as I was confused, the window slammed shut, cutting my hand. The countdown continued. Panicking, I immediately called the front desk to check out, but the person on the other end of the line was speaking incoherently. I couldn't understand a word. I grabbed my things and tried to escape, but the door wouldn't open. I tried the key, yanked on the door handle, and even rammed my body into the door, but it was like slamming into a wall. I was trapped in the room with no way out. Suddenly, I noticed someone across the street. They seemed to have seen me and stood up. I frantically waved my arms as though I had found a lifeline. But the more I looked, the stranger it seemed, this person was imitating my every move. No, it wasn't imitation. It was like looking in a mirror. I grabbed a desk lamp, and the person across the street also grabbed a lamp. I looked again, and to my horror, it was me standing there. Then came something even more terrifying. Someone appeared behind me, holding a hammer, swinging it towards my head. I dodged, and that person vanished as though they had evaporated. I refused to believe it. I grabbed the lamp and threw it out the window with all my strength. The lamp disappeared in midair, and at that moment, I completely lost my composure. No matter how much I tried to tell myself it was amorce, just an illusion. The TV suddenly switched on, and a video of my deceased daughter began to play. I stared at the screen, tears welling up in my eyes. Just then, the ghosts of those who had died in the hotel began to appear. They lined up and one by one jumped out of the window as if they were teaching me how to end it all. The room was filled with eerie whispers. I refused to give up. I started examining the hotel's floor plan and found that the room next to room 1408 had a window. I measured it, and the distance from the window to the wall was about 9 steps. If I climbed out the window and walked another 18 steps, I could reach the window of the next room and escape this nightmare. The wind was strong on the 14th floor, but I clung to the wall, moving cautiously. 1 step, 2 steps, then I looked again and realized that the room next door had no window. The whole hotel, except for room 1408, was gone. I panicked and turned back. Just as I was about to return to the room, I froze. I steadied myself, continued my careful crawl, and when I stood up, I looked again. The hotel floor plan now showed only room 1408 as the sole room. Looking through the peephole, I saw nothing but a wall outside. The lights flickered, and when I turned around, I was stunned to see that the window had been sealed with the words "burned to death" written on it. I rushed into the bedroom, but the window there had disappeared too. I checked the router, and suddenly I heard a voice I had never spoken before. At that moment, I collapsed. In a daze, I saw my daughter lying on a hospital bed. The lights flickered, and all the hallucinations vanished in an instant. The hotel's air conditioning was broken. I put on some clothes and suddenly remembered I had brought my computer. I quickly connected to the internet and dialed my ex-wife for help. But just then, the computer short-circuited and shut down. In a fit of rage, I smashed the sprinkler head only to discover a way out. I unscrewed the hotel's central air conditioning, crawled into the air duct, and made my way to the next room's air vent. There I saw a woman with a child. I rushed to her for help, and when she looked up, I was horrified to realize it was my ex-wife. Terrified, I kept crawling, but my path was blocked by a dead body. Just as I stared at it, the body suddenly came to life and shoved me back into the room. All hope was lost, and I was completely trapped in that place, praying for a miracle. I opened the Bible only to find it was completely blank. I sank into despair. When I looked back, the hotel's air conditioning was broken, and the room had frozen over. I trembled uncontrollably, wrapping myself in blankets to try and stay warm. Suddenly, the computer made a noise. I rushed to it, and to my surprise, the water-damaged computer turned on. My ex-wife appeared in the video call, I asked her, "Did you call the police?" Or when her answer sent chills down my spine. Like, I called the police when they're at 1408, but there's no one inside. At that moment, I lost it. I said to the computer, I'm going to die. Suddenly, another version of me appeared on the screen, urging my ex-wife to come find me. I'm in room 1408. I screamed, but my ex-wife couldn't hear me. The person on the screen gave me a sinister smile. Then, the hotel suddenly collapsed. The room shook violently. A storm raged inside, and the paintings on the wall came to life with sailors shouting from them. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a wooden stick, and water poured from the painting and drowning me in an instant. I lost consciousness in that water. And when I woke up, I found myself in a hospital bed, my ex-wife beside me. Like, I was stunned, and was I saved? And I asked her about the hotel, but she asked me, "What hotel? Didn't you drown while surfing at the beach?" Suddenly I remembered I had drowned while surfing before entering the hotel. Could everything that happened in the hotel have been a dream? I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness it was just a dream. After being discharged, I tried to win back my ex-wife, and I visited my father. Life seemed to be getting back to normal. I wrote down the experiences I had in the dream and planned to send them to a publisher. I walked into the post office only to be horrified to find that the postman was, one of the hotel's employees. The post office became eerily familiar. Workers were wildly tearing down walls and scraping the floors, and the ceiling began to fall apart. I saw a familiar hotel door, and in an instant, the post office turned into room 1408. I hadn't escaped. None of it had been a dream. I had always been trapped in this room. One moment I had hope, the next I fell into hell. At that moment, the room was burned. I pushed open the door, and on the other side was an endless darkness. Standing in the ruins, I saw my dead daughter. I couldn't believe it, and I quickly pulled her into my arms. I was overjoyed, but suddenly she turned to ash in my arms. I was devastated, unable to accept her death once more. In a fit of rage, I smashed the room apart, cursing until I collapsed on the ground. An hour passed, the countdown ended, and the room returned to normal. But waiting for me was the next hour. The countdown had begun again. The hotel phone rang. I picked it up, and the voice on the other end said, "This hour will loop endlessly. The only way to end it is to check out." Suddenly, a noose appeared in the room. This was the way out. No wonder so many had committed suicide. It was the only way to end it all. The voice on the phone continued, "In 5 minutes, your wife will come to join you." I was furious. I thought, even if I die, I'll take this room down with me. I knew everything in the room was an illusion, except for the wine and turkey I had brought in. The hotel's fire alarm went off. The fire alarm in the hotel went off, and all the guests evacuated. At that moment, my ex-wife arrived downstairs and saw the blazing fire, feeling anxious and desperate. But I had made up my mind. I smashed the window, and air rushed in instantly. From then on, 1408 would never have another victim.